Trump's new plan is a huge win for Florida. It's already rattling big pharma, raising eyebrows in Washington, and could change everything for millions of retirees who rely on daily prescriptions, especially here in Florida, where drug costs hit the hardest. In this video, I'll show you why powerful people are already trying to shut this down, how foreign countries are paying a fraction of what we pay for the same meds, and the shady way drug companies control what the media says about them. Let's jump in. Let's start with what everyone already knows. Prescription drugs in the US are insanely overpriced. We're not talking a few bucks more here and there. Americans are paying nearly 3 times more for the same exact medication than people in other developed countries. You got people in Canada, the UK, even Germany getting the same pills for a fraction of what we're paying. Why? Because their governments actually sit down and negotiate prices with the drug companies. Here in the US, we don't. It's like going to buy a car and saying, don't bother telling me the price, just charge me whatever you feel like. That's how backwards this system is, and the drug companies love it. Now, let's bring it closer to home. Florida has one of the largest retiree populations in the entire country. We got over 5 million people on Medicare. Most of them are older, on fixed incomes, and take multiple prescriptions a day just to stay alive. You think they're not feeling this more than anybody? The average American already spends over $1,200 a year on prescriptions, and that's just the average. Some people are shelling out way more than that. Take Ozempic, the weight loss drug, for example. In the US, it's about $1,000 a month. You know how much it costs in France? 83 bucks. Same drug, same company, just a different price tag because their government actually stands up to big pharma. Trump's plan says, hey, if they're paying $83, why are we paying $1,000? It's called the most favored nation model, and it finally brings some common sense into the system. And get this, the US spends over $600 billion a year on prescription drugs. That's more than the entire GDP of Sweden. We're not spending that much because we take more meds. It's because we're just getting ripped off on every single pill. And all these politicians, both sides of the aisle, they let this scam go on for decades. Ever wonder why? Maybe it's got something to do with all those campaign donations rolling in from the drug companies. And you know what's wild? For years, we've had politicians, especially ones like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren, screaming at the top of their lungs about how drug prices are out of control. And honestly, they're not wrong. They said the system was broken, and it is. They've blamed Big Pharma, called out the greed, and promised that they'd fix it. But here we are, decades later, and nothing's changed. Why not? They've had the microphone, they've had the media, they've had the power, but when push came to shove, nothing happened. Now here comes Trump, who's not exactly known for tiptoeing around the swamp, and he actually signs an executive order to lower drug prices. He's using the government's power to tie US prices to what other countries pay. No bill to review, no committee to stall it, just action. And suddenly, everyone goes quiet. Where's Bernie? Where's Warren? Where's the thank you from all these people who claim to fight for working families and retirees? They've been begging for reform for all these years, and now that it's actually happening, they disappear. Well, here's a little clue. In 2020, Bernie's campaign got $1.4 million in donations from employees in the drug industry. Not the companies themselves, the workers and lobbyists who live and breathe this system. That's a lot of money for someone who claims to be fighting Big Pharma. So now I'm watching real close to see if he supports this plan or if he suddenly finds a reason to fight it. The truth is, most politicians don't want to fix this. They want to talk about fixing it. It's a big difference. They've been using the issue to score political points while doing absolutely nothing. Trump signs one piece of paper and drug companies start panicking. That should tell you everything you need to know. And here's the part nobody wants to talk about. Fixing drug prices isn't just hard because of money, it's hard because of control. Big Pharma doesn't just sell you pills, they sell you silence. These companies spend billions every year on advertising, especially on TV. And not just to convince you to ask your doctor about some new wonder drug. Nope, it's about owning the airwaves. In a 2022 interview shared by Dr. Drew, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. said that 75% of advertising revenue on mainstream media, and even more during the evening news, comes from pharmaceutical companies. Let that sink in. If 3 out of $4 coming into CNN or MSNBC are from Big Pharma, do you really think they're gonna bite the hand that feeds them? Think about how many drug commercials you see during a typical news hour. It's nonstop. And the side effects? They read off a list longer than a grocery receipt, but it still sounds upbeat because they want you to feel good about buying it. It's not just about pushing the drug, it's about protecting the brand and keeping the media from saying anything negative that could hurt sales. That's how you control the narrative. And here's something even crazier. Only 2 countries in the entire world allow pharmaceutical companies to advertise prescription drugs on TV: the United States and New Zealand. That's it. Every other developed country bans it. Why? Because they know it's dangerous. It pressures doctors, it misleads patients, and it turns life-saving medicine into flashy marketing. But here in the US, we've turned healthcare into a business, and the news is part of it. That's why Trump's executive order is such a big threat. It doesn't just lower prices, it goes around the media wall and straight to the source, the drug companies. It hits their profits, not just their PR, and that's exactly why they're panicking. I, for one, want to see drug companies banned from advertising on TV, and I think we're going to see it soon. Now let's talk about the second half of Trump's plan. And honestly, it's just as important as lowering prices. It's about bringing drug manufacturing back to the US. Right now, America imports over $200 billion worth of prescription drugs every single year. That's not just a big number, that's the majority of our supply. And where's it coming from? Countries like China and India, where the oversight is a joke. The FDA can't even show up unannounced to check these places. They have to file paperwork, schedule travel, get translators, and basically ask for permission just to walk in the door. It's like giving a restaurant a 3-week heads up before a health inspection. Of course, everything's gonna look spotless when you get there. One former FDA official even said those pre-planned inspections in China are meaningless. And you know what? He's right. While our US factories get surprise inspections all the time, foreign plants have days or even weeks to clean up their mess before anybody shows up. That's not safety, that's theater. During the signing of the executive order, the FDA commissioner, Dr. Marty Makary, said they're finally going to start doing surprise inspections overseas, the same way we do here. That's a game changer, because when people know you might show up at any time, they're more likely to keep things clean at all times. And that means safer medicine for everybody. But it doesn't stop there. This plan also cuts a ton of the bureaucratic red tape that's been keeping US companies from manufacturing drugs here at home. Instead of jumping through hoops, they'll be able to move faster, cheaper, and without having to compete with countries that don't follow the same rules. And let's be real, this isn't just about money, it's about national security. During the pandemic, we saw how dangerous it is to rely on other countries for things like antibiotics and insulin. If those supply chains break down again, we're toast. This isn't just a business decision, it's a survival one. Making drugs in America with real oversight and real safety standards protects all of us. And if this plan delivers, it could finally end our addiction to cheap, shady imports. Now here's the part that's going to mean a lot to everybody, and honestly, it might be the biggest deal of all. If drug prices come down, that doesn't just help people at the pharmacy counter, it helps every single taxpayer in this country. Why? Because the government pays for a huge portion of prescriptions through Medicare and Medicaid. And when those programs cost less, we all pay less in taxes. It's that simple. Just look at Florida. We spend tens of billions of dollars every year through Medicaid alone. That money doesn't grow on trees. It comes from the state budget. And that means your tax dollars. And a big chunk of that spending, it's on prescription drugs. Now, imagine if we could slash those prices by even 20 or 30%. That's billions saved. Not one-time savings, but every single year. And no, this doesn't mean we're gutting Medicare or cutting off grandma's heart meds. It means we're finally stopping the bleeding. For years, these programs have been forced to pay whatever Big Pharma demands. No negotiation, no questions asked. That's not healthcare, that's robbery in broad daylight. This is what Bobby Kennedy Jr. and his team have been fighting for. He's calling out the corruption inside the FDA, the cozy relationship between regulators and drug companies, and the way these industries keep jacking up prices while the government just plays along. He's been one of the loudest voices demanding change, and now, finally, we're seeing some movement. This isn't about politics, it's about fixing a system that's been broken for decades. If you live in Florida, this matters even more. We've got one of the largest retiree populations in the country. We've got snowbirds, fixed incomes, and a ton of people who rely on these programs to stay alive. So yeah, saving money on prescriptions doesn't just help individuals, it helps the whole state. This plan could be the first step towards stopping the waste and putting that money back where it belongs, with the people. But let's be real about this. If you think the big pharma machine is just gonna roll over and let this happen, you're dreaming. These drug companies aren't just rich, they're powerful. They got entire teams of lobbyists who basically live in Washington, D.C. Their full-time job is to cozy up to politicians and make sure nothing gets in the way of their profits. And guess what? That includes trying to block plans just like this one. Trump's executive order threatens their entire business model. If the U.S. ties drug prices to what other countries pay, that cuts deep into their bottom line. We're talking billions of dollars on the line. They're gonna fight tooth and nail to stop it. And it's not just the drug companies themselves. The mainstream media is gonna come out negative on this plan too. Remember, Big Pharma spends more on TV ads than almost any other industry in the country. You start slashing their profits, they start slashing their ad budgets. News networks don't want to lose that cash, so don't expect them to cover this fairly. If they do talk about it, you'll probably hear things like, Trump's reckless plan could hurt future drug development, or some nonsense like that. They're not going to tell you the part where Americans are paying $1,000 a month for a drug that costs $100 overseas. That part magically disappears. Even some politicians are going to quietly try to shut this down. They'll say they're concerned or they need more time to study the impact. That's code for my donors don't like it. These people get massive campaign checks from Big Pharma. So when Trump comes in and pulls the rug out from under them, they panic. Doesn't matter if they're a Republican or Democrat. If they're on the take, they're going to try to kill it. This is why nothing ever changes. Anytime someone actually tries to fix the system, all the powerful people who profit from the broken one come out swinging. But here's the difference this time. This move's already been signed. It's out there. And now people are watching. If the public gets behind it and if it sticks, this could be the moment that breaks the cycle. But make no mistake, they're coming for it, and fast. So don't fall for the talking points when some politician or news anchor tries to scare you into thinking this plan is dangerous. One of their favorite lines is, lowering drug prices will hurt research and innovation. Really? Then explain this. In 2022, Big Pharma spent $8.1 billion on direct-to-consumer advertising. That's commercials, online ads, magazine spreads, all meant to get you to ask your doctor. And guess what? Some of those same companies spent less than that on actually developing new drugs. They're not focused on curing anything. They're focused on selling. This whole thing is about profit, not progress. Then there's the other line. Retirees won't be able to get their medications. But that's already happening right now. Not because of shortages, but because people can't afford them. 1 in 4 Americans can't even afford the prescriptions their doctor gives them. Some are cutting pills in half, skipping doses, or not filling them at all. In the richest country in the world, that's not just unacceptable, that's disgusting. At the end of the day, this is about fairness. It's about finally putting American taxpayers and patients first, instead of lining the pockets of billion-dollar drug companies. This executive order might not solve everything overnight, but it's a big step toward breaking a corrupt system that's been bleeding us dry for decades. I'm proud of Florida for always being the first to stand up and protect our freedoms. But this next one's wild. Click here to learn about Bill Gates' insane plan to block out the sun in Florida. They say it's to help the planet, but what's really going on? This crazy idea could change Florida forever, and we're all going to pay the price. Click here, and I'll see you there.